and shared her story and was so in tears that she felt finally validated. And she became an instant friend, and she understands advocacy, and she understands what it's going to take to move this mountain that we're all trying to get out, right? Because this diagnosis is hard. It does not come with next steps. It comes with the diagnosis, and then you're left to wonder what happens next. So hopefully the Autism Caring Center helps you solve some of those that were a solution for you. And I think Lena has found that in us. So I'm really proud to present her as our opening speaker today, Miss Lena.
Good morning. I am so honored to be here. When Kelly called me and asked me to do this, I was having a bad day. I think everyone in this room has had a day like this. My boys' clinic couldn't take them in the morning. We were late. I was late for work. I had a doctor's appointment. A million things going on. As I'm driving from work to my doctor's appointment, I look down, there's a text from Kelly. And it's like, hey, you have a minute to chat? I'm like, I have 2 minutes in this whole day, and it happens to be this very minute that I'm in the car. So I pick it up, and my phone's kind of doing this weird Bluetooth thing, and it's not connecting, and I think I hear what she says, and I'm like, well, can you repeat that? Did you just ask me to do the opener at the conference? And she was like, yeah. And I almost drove into the opposite side of traffic, because I was like, what? Like, what in the world would I have to say to these people? Like, and I said yes, and I was so honored. But that night I went home and I started to think about it, and I started to think of where I was the first time that I walked into that conference, and then where I was when Kelly called me on that day. And I started to think about it, and I was like, you know, maybe I do have some helpful things that I can share with people, and so that is why I'm up here today. So I just want to share a little bit about our story. So this is just a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Pennsylvania. I went to NA, go Tigers. I have my undergrad from Johnstown and in communications and political science, go Mountain Cats. And then I have my master's at the University of Pittsburgh in public policy and management. So I guess go Panthers. I'm not really sure why I had such an affinity for cats as mascots for school, but here we are. I also work at the University of Pittsburgh. I work with non-traditional students, so I work with adults, athletes. I help students, veterans. I help students that are a little bit further in their career kind of come and complete their degrees, and kind of a lot of our students are like refocusing their career at that point in their life. I'm also the co-founder and a board member of 5K that we have in our neighborhood. I am a co-owner and co-founder of TLC fundraising events that's actually throwing the ball.
Oh, buddy. Oh.
And that's my little one.
Oh, buddy. You didn't even say cookie, buddy.
That is just the most perfect example of being a mom. Thank you, Lucas, for doing that for us today. There is not a minute that you get, right? You always got to be on guard, especially with our little ones. So I think that is a perfect transition into my reason why. He couldn't have timed that better, and I'm glad he's proud. So my reason why is here today with me. It is my wonderful husband, Steve, and my two beautiful boys, Lincoln and Lucas. Lucas is the one that just threw himself on the ground. And they are everything to me. When my husband and I originally got married about 12 years ago, children was something that we didn't know if we were gonna have kids. We talked about it sometimes, we went back and forth, and it was just kind of a, well, if it happens, it happens, if it doesn't kind of situation. And we did end up getting pregnant, and unfortunately, we had a terrible loss, and it was really hard. It was really hard to not know if you wanted something, and then to have it, and then to have it taken away that way. And as women, right, like, it's my fault I lost lost the baby, like it's my fault that happened. You just internalize all of that. So it was about 3 years after that, and I wasn't gonna share the story, but it's just too funny not to share. In the beginning of COVID, my grandmother was down in a facility in Florida. And this woman valued her sleep, she valued her privacy, she valued her schedule. And in facilities like that during COVID, they were coming in, they were doing the testing, and every morning they were waking her up. Well, my aunt got a call, and it was basically like, if you don't get your mom, like, we're gonna her right out of here. So me and my best friend drove down to Florida during COVID. In the beginning, I'm talking tents and like medical professionals on the side. We got to South Carolina, we didn't stop till Florida. I'm not being funny. We were just like, we're gonna die. Like this was a scary time at the very beginning of COVID. So we go down, we get to my grandma's facility. I kid you not, this woman is sitting on her suitcase like this at the door. Literally like, let's go. We get in the car and she's like, let me tell you what these a-holes have been doing to me. This woman did not stop talking for 9 hours. The whole ride, she was like, thank you for getting me out of there. So we get home, and the next couple of days, I'm like sick as can be. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm COVID. I gave my grandma COVID, or I'm gonna die. Like, this is terrible. Oh my gosh. I took a COVID test, it was not COVID. And I started thinking, I was like, there's no way I'm living. So I take a test that we had at the house, it's positive. I take another one, it's positive. Well, they're both clearly broken, so I drive to Walgreens, and I buy 3 more, and I come home, and I take all of them, all positive. So this is what brings us to our Lincoln. This is my older son, Lincoln. He is 5 years old, and when he was born, he was just the star of life. It was like everything that we had ever hoped and wanted was true, and it was there, and we were so blessed. Around 14 or 15 months, when he was about 14 or 15 months old, I started to notice some things changing with him. I started to notice when he would look at me, he wasn't quite looking at me the way that he used to. It was almost like he would stare through me. And he had these spells when he would like stare up into the corner. And every time I would research this stuff, in the list, autism. And I was just like, there's no way, like what? And so I couldn't stop the feeling of just knowing that there was something amiss. Like in my gut, I knew it. And so he was already in early intervention because he had torticollis. So I called his coordinator and I said, like, can we get some extra services? Can he get speech? Can he get OT? Like, he's just a little bit behind. And they were like, yeah, absolutely. We start those services. Then we go to his 15-month pediatrician appointment, and I bring up the same concerns. And she's like, I'm glad you brought that up because I actually wanted to talk to you about some of his scores. And she said to me, what I want to do is I want to get Lincoln on the list to be evaluated by children. She said it takes about 7 or 8 months before you get through. I don't want you to go a year and then be at that spot. She was like, let's put him on the list now, and if 8 months you don't need the assessment, we'll cancel it. But if you do need it, it's there. I will be grateful to this woman until the day that I die. Every child on this planet deserves a pediatrician like her. What she did for my family in that moment, I can never repay. I can never repay. Her advice in that moment led my son to be able to get the services that he has today. And we went to the evaluation. I remember the parking lot. I remember the door. I remember you press a special button before they would let you in. I remember what I was wearing. But mostly, I remember the tone of the doctor's face when she looked at us and she said, autism is in your son's future. That's the way she phrased it. She said, autism is in your son's future. And at that moment, I felt my world ripped away. I didn't know anything about autism. My only view is my cousin who is severely autistic. He also has cerebral palsy, and he also has epilepsy. I will be the first one to say I didn't know anything about autism, and I froze. They handed me Medicaid paperwork, and I couldn't even sign it. Like, I was just like, what is happening? And I just remember my husband taking his hand and putting it on my knee, and he said, "Thank you." And he didn't have to say anything else. I knew what he meant, because, and I'm sure a lot of you also have experienced this in this room. Boys talk late, boys crawl late. It's okay, he's fine, don't worry about it. And I don't blame my friends and family for this at all. Who in their right mind is gonna be like, yep, looks like something's wrong with him? Like, that's just it's not a normal thing for people to say. They wanna make you feel better, they wanna encourage you. They don't mean to be disrespectful when they say things like that. It's common. I've done it in other situations with other friends. But I knew something was wrong, and I pushed past all of those barriers because I knew that he needed more. And I knew in that moment that's what my husband was recognizing, because I needed to know what was going on. I needed to feel what was going on. After that, I remember driving home. I called my poor mom in the car, and I am just screaming. I mean, like a lunatic. I am just screaming and crying. Poor Lincoln is in the back seat. Like, I lost my mind in that moment. And I remember on the way home, we stopped at P.F. And I just remember as my husband was getting out of the car, I was like, why is he okay? Like, why? Like, I don't understand. Like, I am breaking down. Like, why is he okay? And he walked up to the restroom. He turned around the bed, where I thought that I couldn't see it, and he collapsed on the floor and just started sobbing. And in that moment, I was like, he's holding it together for me, because he can see that I'm losing it. And so the next couple of months after that were really, really hard. At this point, I was pregnant with my second son. I was emotional, I was hormonal. His pregnancy was very difficult. I was basically on bed rest for the last 8 weeks. He had lots of complications, and it just seemed so unfair. Like, how could we be dealing with this with Lincoln, and then, like, my baby is having all these health issues? It's just, he has kidney issues, he has this, he's transverse, he's breech, he's that. We're going in for a C-section. Now we're not doing a C-section. Then we're doing a C-section again. Like, it was just insane. And then he gets there, and he is beautiful, and he is perfect, and he is healthy, and they test his kidneys, and they're perfect, and me and Steve were just like, you've got to be kidding me. Like, we were so blessed, we were so happy. Well, the next morning, I'm not feeling right. Like, I can feel everything for my kids, right? Like, I'll advocate for them. But I'm just sitting there internally being like, well, I don't feel very good. Like, something's going on, but of course I'm not advocating for myself. Well, I ended up getting blood clots and essentially hemorrhaging the morning after he was born. And a lot of very traumatizing things came along with that. And so after that, I am dealing with the diagnosis of my son. I'm dealing with the realization that I almost died, and I was so terrified, and the only thing going through my mind in those moments was, who will take care of my boys? Like, when I'm gone, when Steve's gone, who they need, like, at this point, Lincoln, but like, they need so much care. Like, I was just in such a dark place, such a dark place. I was actually reminded of this story last night when we were having drinks across the way. One evening, me, Steve, and my friend went out for some drinks at the casino. This was around Christmas. If any of you know me, I take Christmas very seriously. I take my Christmas decorations very seriously. And this year, on top of everything I'm already going through, I know, very dramatic, my Christmas decorations are all messy. There's ones that aren't lighting up, everything, it's a nightmare putting them up. So I have all these candy canes in the front yard. We get home from the bar, it's like 2 o'clock in the morning, and 2 of my candy canes are laying on the ground. I jumped out of the Uber, took the Timberland boots that I was wearing, and I Clark Griswold every candy cane in that yard. And Steve and my best friend stood there like this. Steve was like, I didn't know if you were going to be so upset that your decorations were ruined in the morning, or if I needed to just let you go. And I was like, you needed to just let me go. Like, I needed that in that moment. I had so much rage. I had so much anger. Children made me mad. Neurotypical children, seeing them play, seeing them be happy and healthy, I got angry at babies, at kids. And in my head, I'm like, this is not normal. Like, this is not right. This is not how you should be acting. But I couldn't stop myself. Like, it just kept on getting worse and getting worse. And my friends are trying to help me. My family are trying to help me. I have a wonderful support system. But it just, nothing was clicking. Nothing made sense. And people kept on sending me advertisements on Facebook to a conference. And I said to my friends, I can't even speak about autism. Like, I can't even say the words out loud without breaking down. You want me to go into a room that's all about that? Like, are you guys freaking nuts? Like, no. And so, like, I kept on being like, no. So, again, things are just getting really bad. Me and my husband are fighting. I'm not being a good mom. I'm not being a good friend. Like, I'm just spiraling completely out of control. And one day, just scrolling online, and actually, one of my friends, it's actually the man that sold us our house, had posted this poem about his daughter. Now, I'm not gonna read it for you guys word for word. I don't know if any of you are familiar with this. If you're not, I really encourage looking it up and reading it. But essentially, it talks about you're planning a trip. You're planning a trip to Italy, and you have prepared to go to Italy. You bought the books, you bought the clothes, everything. You have the itinerary, you know what you're doing, but your plane lands in Holland. You don't have any books about Holland. You don't know what you're doing. None of your friends are in Holland. None of your family's in Holland. But Holland isn't bad. Holland's not terrible. It's different. But all your friends are in Italy. All your friends are enjoying Italy. And you're stuck in Holland. But then it's the last part that got me. If you spend your whole life missing Italy, you're never going to enjoy Holland. And when I read that day, I was like, I'm losing moments with my babies I can never get back. I'm taking my grief and I'm letting it consume me. I'm gonna ruin a relationship with Prince Charming. Like, I need to do something. And so I was sitting there one night, again, online. I spend way too much time online, apparently. And I see this conference again. And there is a contact. There's like you can contact this person. I don't know if this is even for people, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, is it a provider? Is it for people that teach? I have no idea. So I send a message and Kelly answers back, yes, this is for you. You have to be there. And I was like, well, okay, I guess I'm going then. So I was so nervous. I had to try on 100 different outfits. I had no idea what I was going to do, what I was going to say. And my biggest fear is, what happens when they ask you about it? What happens when you're in that spot and you have to talk about it? And that did it. I got the stupid potato up there, which meant that I had to get up in front of the room and talk about what I was feeling. And as Kelly said, it was just like word vomit of everything that I've been going through. And I can't tell you how that room embraced me. I mean, women running up and hugging me. The bartender brought me a shot. Like, literally. And I am just like sitting there, and after that night, and the next morning, I'm sitting there, and it finally clicked. That was what I needed. That was what I was missing. Sitting down at a table and talking to somebody, and they just know what you're talking about. You don't have to explain it. You don't have to say my son's nonverbal. You don't have to say, oh, we don't go to a school, we go to an ABA clinic. They're just like, I understand. I hadn't had that. In my life, I've thrived on connection, and I couldn't connect to other people. And that night, just the way they all embraced me was just so amazing. And then the next morning, I came back, because I didn't stay the first weekend, because again, I was nervous, I was scared, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. And so I come back the next morning, and at breakfast, I sit with a woman and her mother-in-law. And we start talking, and instantly we are connecting. And after breakfast, we get up and we go away, and I'm like, damn it, Lena, why don't you just like ask for her Facebook or ask for a number or something? Like, you made a connection with somebody and then you just walked away. So then, one of the very first sessions that I go to that day, is talking exactly about that. And I was like, well, thanks for rubbing it in. I'm already feeling like a jerk from this morning, but whatever. So then at lunch, or I'm sorry, I think it was another session we go to, and they're there again, and I sit down with them, and we start talking again, and halfway through we're talking, her mother-in-law just goes, why don't you share information? And I was like, thanks, Mom. And in that moment, like, I was still feeling so vulnerable. I was still feeling so nervous. It was like I was on a first date. Like, I felt so anxious and I felt so nervous. But once I started being able to make those connections and talk to people and see what other people were going through, I wasn't going through this myself. Me and Heather had a very, very, very similar connection with our kids. And it was just being able to have that connection and have people understand was like amazing. And then that night, we may have got drunk and crashed a wedding. It was a blast. And then I was sent home in the early hours of the morning in an Uber. And then Sunday morning I came, and I don't know if Kelly remembers this, but she came up to me and she was like, your husband is never gonna let you hang out with us again. Oh my God. And I was like, no. My husband was thrilled. And he was thrilled because I came home happy. I came home fulfilled. I wanted to tell him about all of the wonderful people that I've met. Jess, my soul sister, who put me in the Uber. Like, I just had so many things to tell him, and I was just so excited about the connection that I was making while I was there. And so after that, things got a lot better. I started talking about our journey more. I started being open. I started posting on Facebook. I started talking to people about it. And the more I talked to people about it, the more people reached out to me that maybe weren't comfortable talking about it publicly. And so I thought, like, I want to help these people. Like, I want to help people get through this. But not in like I'm an official advocate, I have a degree in advocacy, and you hire me. No, I want to help other moms that were in my situation. I want to help take people from despair and kicking candy canes across the yard and get them to a point where they can get up and speak to a whole full room full of people and be able to do that. And the reason that I was able to do that is because of the people in this room and how they build you up and what they do for you. There is so much information in this room. Talk to the ladies that are here. Talk to Kelly. talk to Holly, talk to everybody that is here. They have so much experience. They've been doing this for a long time. There are moms in this room that are navigating a diagnosis that has just happened. There are women in this room that have been on this journey for 20 plus years. Use this time to make the most of this conference so you can make that connection. Yes, the information that you get in those sessions today will be wonderful, but I will tell you right now, after this all happened and I went to the conference and I'm doing better and things are going very well, it happens. I look in the living room one day, the little one, sitting. And I knew in that very minute, it was the same stim I did as a child, and it was the same stim that Lincoln did. And I knew in that minute that he was also autistic. Again, my family members, boys are different, he's different, but I knew. There was no surprise the day that we went to his diagnosis. It was hard. His level was higher than I thought it was going to be. But this time, I didn't break. And I didn't break because Heather, who I met at the first conference with her mother-in-law, you're sitting right there, I'll point you out. When I'm having a horrible day, I can reach out to her. And she is there for me, and she knows what's going on. We went through a horrible situation where Lincoln was having a really bad time at night, and I just put up an emotional story about it. Kelly called me on the phone. A behavioral specialist is calling me this afternoon. Be available. She's going to walk you through it. The women in this room, they don't just comment on your Facebook stories and say, you got this, mama, and like throw you a heart. They help you. They give action. They actually change your life. I don't say this mildly when I say that going to that conference that weekend, it saved my life. It saved me as a mom. It saved me as a wife. It saved me as a friend. I was in such a dark place and I needed connection. Very recently, my father passed away. And I remember one day I was talking to my dad and I was telling him how hard things were with Lincoln. And he was like, don't worry about it. You're gonna get your feet and you're gonna make it better. And I was like, you, man. Like, what the hell? Like, why are you being so insensitive? Like, I'm struggling here. And you're just like, you got this. And I'm like, okay. But he was right. He was right. And he knew, hi, baby.
Mommy's busy.
And in that, when I was thinking about, at my dad's funeral, about him saying that, and I was just kind of like, you know what, like, he was right. Like, from the other things he had seen me do in my life, that is what I do. I do tackle problems, I do make them better once I can get there. In that moment, that comment seemed very insensitive. But now that I'm standing here, I think I know what he meant. And he didn't mean it as an insult. He didn't mean it to be passive. He meant it like, I know you're gonna move mountains for those boys. It just took me time to realize what he meant. And so I just wanted to say to you all,
You're good.
while we're sitting here, I'm gonna ask you all to do me a favor. I know that Kelly gave us all notebooks in our bags. I want everyone to get their notebook out, and on the very first page, I want you to write 5 lines. I'm gonna give you a freebie. I will be your first friend. You can add me, and that counts as number 1. But I want you to think of this as like a dance card. And throughout the conference today, when you meet people and you have a connection with them, share your contact information, share your number, share your email, share your social medias. Don't wait for your mom to make you do it. Do it yourself, because I promise you that it will be worth it. And the reason I say that is because in this journey, connection is so important. And I mean real connection. I don't mean Facebook groups that have 50,000 people. All you're gonna get in there is arguments with people that have a million different opinions. And that's one of the things that frustrates me the most with our community. I will be completely honest with you. I think we need to be building all levels and all individuals with autism up. If you are level 1 or high functioning and it is a superpower to you, that is fantastic. And we should celebrate that, and we should love them, and we should empower them, and we should celebrate them. And autism is awesome for that, and that is amazing. But also, when an individual or a family who has a child that is maybe level 3 or profoundly autistic or has different layers to their condition, it's not fair to tell them that their level takes away from a different one. That's insane. We need to be building each other up together. Validating one person's experience does not negate another. And I think we always talk about autism as a spectrum, right? Until you have to actually treat it like a spectrum. And you have to understand that there are so many differences to it. So if I can leave you with anything today, it's just please take this conference and make the absolute most out of it. Listen to the speakers, talk to the people at your table, share information. I promise you it's worth it. This is a wonderful, wonderful organization. Kelly is incredible. I can't say enough wonderful things about her. I'm so blessed that she has been brought into my life. And I am just so honored to be able to speak to you all this morning. And with that, I guess, welcome to the Autism Connection Conference.